Sorry for that little crash there, guys. OBS just crashed on us. We thought we'd found the end of the tech issues, but no! No, the tech issues still have us in their grip. We will be with you shortly. I'm just getting everything set up again. Be right back.
Oh, hi everyone, and welcome to the Scratticus Academy. We are back today with some more Doors of Dunera. Before we head round and say hello to all these lovely people here, please check out all the links coming up in chat now. That includes the Discord. We do have a Discord specifically for this game, so please head over there and check it out. Also, if you want to get into a game, go drop Scrat a DM on Twitter and we will get you a game. We are putting on more games at the moment to keep everyone a little bit entertained and distracted during this time. Also, if you've missed out on anything, you can head over to YouTube and all of our games are in playlists for you to catch up on. Also, a huge thank you to our wonderful sponsors who we couldn't do this without, in the form of Hero Forge that do the coloured minis. As they are, you can get yourself, you can get all your characters printed in full colour over there. We are doing some more things with them very soon, so keep an eye and ear out for that. Also, the wonderful Mage Hand Press. You can see their Faith Folio every Wednesday. And also their dark matter, which you can now get in hardback, which is basically D&D in space smushed together. It's a very wonderful thing. Also, we have the deck of many things, the magic moving spell cards, which you can donate to have used in this game and affect it permanently. So have a think about that. Also, Humblewood, which is lots of woodland creatures going on an adventure. It's very wholesome. It's also one of our viewer games on Thursday if you want to come and join that. Last but certainly not least, also Dungeon Fog. Dungeon Fog helps you create your maps and also all of your notes that coincide with it. When you change something on the map, it changes it in the notes for you and vice versa. It's very good, so please go and check that out as well. Also, before I go around one more time, Toolschool can't make it this week, but please check out all of his links and all of the wonderful things he does. So go and check all of that out as well. His links will appear in chat now. Otherwise, we'll start, how we usually do, with the very lovely Jagon's Gold. Oh, hi.
Oh, hi. I am Jay, or the lovely Jagon's Gold, and I play Paula Packer, who is a dancer, a librarian, and she is very concerned about these potentially church people that are invading their cave.
Get out of my cave.
Get out of my cave.
Wonderful, thank you. Then we're going to hop over and say hi to the lovely Mal. Oh, hi.
Oh no, I'm second this time.
Yeah, I know, I'm going to throw you off.
Hi, I'm Mal. I play Reese Blackash. He's kind of quiet and has a big wolf, which is sort of like having a big stick. Yeah, let's see. Something cool that happened last time is we found a journal that's connected to Reese. Maybe we'll learn more about that today.
I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure you won't do anything rash. Otherwise, we're going to hop over, last but certainly not least, to the lovely Sarah. Oh, hi.
Hey, so happy to be back here with y'all. I am this on the internet, and here I am Florence Fetlock. She is a postal service worker for the city of Carnan, but now that our heroes are across the sea and somewhere else, she is a courier for folks who have passed on to sort of the other side of existence. Last week, she got to have a really lovely chat with a man named Mikkel, and she learned quite a lot from this person about the Star Caverns where we currently find ourselves. So excited to see what happens this week, as always.
Awesome, thank you. Mikkel was almost an entity, not even sure if it was a spirit that guarded this broken door, this domed room with these stories that adorned all of the walls. And in an attempt to find out where Aiden had gone after these people bearing the sign of the church on their clothes took him, Averick stayed behind with Tuva and Rika in the domed room, and Reese, Florence, and Paula decided to head out through one of the new man-made entrances by these people. And they came to a huge room, a very vast space, almost cathedral sized great hall, where these people were seen to be camped out. And there was this moment where we did see Aiden. He seemed to be knocked out, passed out, and Reese, having the access to the upper floor of this huge space, almost like a hollowed out balcony, was able to walk around. And this lead, I guess, churchgoer, cast something aside in frustration, a notebook. And Reese, from your position, you recognize Gideon's handwriting as it was thrown angrily aside to land just beneath you. But there is a group in this hallway.
I forget, how big is this group?
There's about 6, 7 of them. I will say one of them doesn't seem to be there right now, but you did see him disappear out what looked like the further end of the entrance, not back the way you came, if you see what I mean.
Now I recognize the handwriting, but how bright is this room?
This room is pretty bright. There seems to have been some, I'm talking, when I say torches, you know, I'm talking about fire and a stick. You've been in a thing with me before. They've been lit, so it's almost like there's a lot of shadow around, but it's bright enough to see everything around and things like that. You also do see that woman, the one with the huge Komodo dragon, who seems to be walking around the room a bit, but she hasn't paid any particular attention to you. She's looking at the drawings on the walls and things like that. Is there anything you'd like to do?
Well, let's see. From Reese's perspective, the only interactions with the church have been very bad. They have something of a person he knows. And they have a friend of ours currently. So we're gonna do something rash, I think.
Of course we are.
Because so how high up am I?
You're pretty high up. It's not like a jump down kind of thing. You would need either rope or to find a way down or something to that effect.
I guess, okay, so what's the layout of the room like then?
Okay, you've got this huge balcony that runs almost the entire length of this huge great hall. It's half balcony, half where you can see it's like the rock has tried to take back this room again, where these stalactites and stalagmites are starting to merge with the balcony, this stone carved balcony. You can see this huge space below you. They have a couple of steps at the far back of the hall, the opposite side that you are on, which looks like one of the ways out of this place. And there is a small doorway there. There's the doorway where you came in from, but that's up here on the balcony where Florence and Polla are currently stood. If you would like to see more, could you roll me a perception or intellect check, please?
Yes, I think I will start with that to see if I can see anything else. 16.
Yeah, you look around, and first of all, before your eyes fall on this, you do hear a voice come back through this other door, the far reach, and it comes back as a younger man sort of hurries forward. You can hear him huffing and puffing as he runs towards who you can guess is effectively in charge of this expedition, the one that threw Gideon's notebook. And he sort of sir, we found him. The man and the wolf, we're gonna cut him off up by the Thara Bridge before he gets any further. We're gonna get there. And you just see this still very frustrated man just like give a nod and indicate for this young man to leave again as he takes off at a sprint. You notice the woman with this huge Komodo dragon watch him go, nod to the main man, and follow up this passageway after him. And it's that sort of indicates to you, you can see you think it was maybe a set of stairs once. It's very worn away. Not it's easy to get down, but like you can see how many footsteps have trodden on this tiny little pathway. It's like it's at all the steps dip in the center where someone has walked down, and it looks almost the best way to see it is it's almost like a servant's stairway. It seems to curve around the back, so it's not necessarily seen. You can see another staircase on the other side of the balcony, which is very, very obvious. It looks like it's again used just as much, and it looks a lot more stable because it's much larger steps, a much larger staircase. But you can see this smaller one that will duck behind some of the pillars on the lower floor, and these pillars hold up the balcony.
Okay. So I think Reese goes back to Florence and Paula first, and he explains what he's seen and heard, just to make sure everyone's on the same page. Paula, I know that this person that was here isn't your dad, but it sounds like they could be helpful to us. I need the two of you to go back and gather everyone else and make your way back out the way we came. I'll meet you there soon. And then he gives a signal to Astrid as quietly as he can. And then he's gonna jump off the fucking balcony and slide down one of the stalagmite pillars.
Okay, roll for me. Roll a... What would you want to roll? How are you doing this? Like, is this, are you trying to be stealthy and do it quick?
No, I'm trying to be... I honestly, because he heard them say, we found him, we're gonna cut him off at the bridge before he reaches the bridge, Reese is gonna go in loud to grab attention.
Okay.
Roll
a... I'm going to say a might.
Okay.
Before you go for that, Florence and Paula, you've just been told this, and you watch Reese jump.
Holy shit, Florence!
I was going to try and tell him that we were going to come with him, but too late.
Oh, well, we should probably go let Talon and Tuva know. Shit.
I agree.
And will start running off.
Yeah, I hope whatever he has in mind is gonna work, but I guess all we can do now is trust him.
And Paula kind of takes one last peek over the edge to see how Reese is doing before heading off.
Okay, Reese, roll. Have you rolled?
I haven't, because here's the thing is I have controlled fall.
Ooh.
When you fall, while you fall and are able to use actions within reach of a vertical surface, you can attempt to slow your fall. Make a speed roll with a difficulty of 1 for every 20 feet you fall. On a success, you take half damage from the fall. If you reduce the difficulty to 0, you take no damage. So I would like to make speed rolls, I guess.
Roll for me, please. I'm going to say roll 2, purely on the height of this.
I'm gonna put effort into both of these. And we're not gonna spend advantages. We're gonna see how this plays out. A 4 and then a nat 20.
Okay. So the first part of this you manage to throw yourself over the side of this balcony as you grab hold of this this huge, just like, formation of rock, and you can feel the water at the top, so you start to slip a little bit, but as you do, you almost use that to your advantage, and you continue to slide down here as you head down to the bottom level. What does it look like as you do it? How do you want him to land? Because you got a 20.
So after the initial trouble, I want to do the like almost slide down arm and leg just on the wall, sliding to control it, and landing in a roll, hopefully to get towards the journal.
Okay. You can sort of dive down here, Astrid landing almost completely next to you, and there's this moment where you roll, you land exactly by where the journal is, and people just sort of turn to look at you. They had no idea anyone else was here, and there's a moment of just freeze, and then you notice that 4 of them start to reach for these weapons as you head towards this diary, effectively. You can see the main one stand up and gives you a little bit of a smile as he takes out this, what almost just looks like a bar, which he's been carrying with him. It's like a staff or something, and he gives you a bit of a grin and yells something towards these men as they come running towards you.
So I think because I did say I wanted to get their attention, when Reese first jumps, he howls like a red wolf to the best of his ability, and as he rolls towards the journal, he comes up with the knife already out in his hand, crouched low over the journal.
Awesome. Okay, well, you've definitely got their attention, put it that way. What would you like your next move to be as these 4 people? Well, the main guy seems to be stood back, letting these 3 come running towards you. Each have these sort of like staffs. One of them has a gun out as they come charging towards you. What would you like to do?
So I think trying to make sure everything stays quick, because combat's meant to be fast. The first thing he does is he says, Astrid, gun, because he saw that. And then as he rushes towards the one nearest to him, he just says, what are you doing with my friend's journal? And then he's going to try and attack with his knife.
Okay. First of all, almost in that one swift moment as you yell to Astrid, Astrid dives down next to you. She's just as pounced and crouched as you are. And that hand that's outstretched with the gun, as it's starting to look like it's about to fire, this huge wolf muzzle goes straight round this man's arm, almost throwing him aside as she stands on top of him. You hear a yell as she pins him to the floor, and you see that gun sort of rattle across the floor. And this man clutches his arm, screaming. Could you make me a might roll, please, if you're stood there with your knife ready to make an attack?
Yes, I can. A natural 20.
Ooh.
Wow.
I will let you take the other 2 out with this. Describe what Reese does.
Okay, so I think he's been on his own for long enough that he knows how to deal with situations where it's him against a group, and maybe if there was anyone left to watch, assuming Florence and Paula haven't run off to do what he asked, they would see him, they'd see that speed that he's shown a couple of times in the past recently, and he just rushes forward, and because the knife's in a defensive position, so the blade's down instead of up, but he rushes the first person, slashes up at their arm where the staff is or whatever they're holding, and then just flips it around and slashes down their torso before, because they're probably pretty close together. And then he just, it's almost, I don't get to do this very often. He's kind of showing off even though no one's here. So he slashes twice with the one, and then he flips the knife into the other hand as he spins to hit the next person.
Yeah, they sort of swing at you, but you manage to sort of weave underneath them. If anything, you're using their own body against them, sort of being able to turn them round, using this blade in your hand more like a tool than anything else as this happens. And Paula and Florence, did you run or did you watch?
I think Paula probably just like looked over enough to see that Reese landed safely and then started to dart off.
Okay.
Same. I think in this crazy moment, Florence also just chose to trust Reese and is off to do what was asked.
You hear the clatter of metal somewhere below you as these staffs are dropped. You hear this crunch and this howl from Astrid as she throws her head back, pinning this person to the ground. Reese, the three main men are out. You can see the one who was leading them. The smile is still on his face, and you notice now that he starts to hold out the palm of his hand as this, you're not even sure what it is. It's almost like a flame to begin with, but it dances in like this gray light. And as he moves his hand across, you can see from the rafters this owl in Archway comes screeching down towards Astrid as this man, he's probably about the same height as you, but a lot broader. Not muscular, just he seems to have a lot of weight behind him, and he's started to circle you, and you notice as he raises his hand up, his veins start to go black. What would you like to do?
Would I have seen anything like that before?
Roll an intellect check for me, please.
Okay.
That is my drink.
A 7. I don't know why my difficulty's still 7. I don't know what it is.
Okay. You don't. For a moment, there's this moment where you freeze and blink a few times, and for a moment it's like a memory, but it's like you recognize as you have to gather yourself. You remember those veins around Tolan's eyes when he passed out, when his Anarchway was taken from him.
Okay, let's see, what do we want to do? Reese is not very good at talking, so I think he just moves to try and circle the circling person, and he just, for now, he stays crouched with the knife in a defensive position. It's just like, you didn't answer my question.
And this man starts to move around you, even as you crouch low. You notice this magic seems to stretch all the way up his forearm. His eyes blaze the same color. And you can hear Astrid snap her teeth and howl as this owl screeches, trying to attack her from above, but her jaw snaps. And there's this moment where this man reaches down and picks up one of these other, almost like these poles, this staff, and it's quite long, and you can see the engravings of the sun in it. And as he does, you notice that this pole he squeezes tighter and tighter, and it starts to turn into this clear, slightly distorted material. and he raises it up and he swings for you. So could you make me a speed to dodge, please?
Yes, and I'm gonna spend an advantage on this one. Of course.
You're doing well today. How does he dodge? You see this almost, it sort of glints for a moment with this light as he swings it down towards you.
Because I'm curious, I think as part of the dodge, he actually like parries it with the knife, because the knife is also glowing because it's been used in other fashions, and I'm curious as a player what the reactions of either of the items might be. So he like parries and slides. If he's swinging, yeah, he like parries it up and sidesteps around.
Okay, as these two weapons meet, your blade glows, and it's almost, remember those sparks, as if like it was in the part of a furnace. And this staff, as much as it's distorted and no longer smooth, it looks like glass. And as it does, and your blade hits it, you see the edge of your blade start to turn into this material. And this is probably quite close to your face, so you can see it. And you can see just along the edge of your blade, this clear, distorted material is starting to form. You notice the longer you hold the blade there, it's like it's starting to spread. Could you make an intellect check for me if you want to find out what this material is and what it's turning into?
I do, and since I have a bunch of them, I think I want to use one of my nat 20s.
Okay. You look at it closer, and you've seen material like this before. It's not quite the same. But the closest material you can see this is turning into is diamond.
Interesting, but I'm not sure that's helpful.
You get the feeling you don't want this to touch you.
Cool. I think you know what, because I think this is narratively more interesting, we're gonna try and scoop up the journal and run off.
Which way are you running?
Shoot, do I go back and regroup in case I need help, or do I run into the rest of them?
I will say you can see Astrid has completely disarmed this other man who is currently like cradling himself away. He's backing away from Astrid as he's, well, I say backing away, he's dragging himself away from Astrid. She's very slowly making her way towards him.
You know, I'm feeling a little cocky. We're gonna try and scoop up the journal, head back to regroup with my group. And since this person has said nothing to me when I've attempted to ask the same question twice, we're just gonna say something cocky to him and then leave.
Roll me a speed check, please, to get away.
Oh, a natural one, of course.
Okay. You go to sort of run. Astrid, for that moment, is distracted as she looks towards you, and she sort of lets out this snarl as this staff, you sort of go to move, and in that slight moment where your furs are along across your shoulder, you feel it strike, and you suddenly feel heavy as it starts to seep this sort of diamond-like material. It's got that, it's still got the almost like the color of the furs, but you get that feeling is you need to get this off you quick, otherwise your shoulder is gonna turn.
Okay. Fun. Well, maybe we won't be so cocky now. Yeah, I think he just shrugs out of that outer layer as quick as he can, and it's like, Astrid, let's go, and tries to move on again.
Okay. You sort of, Astrid sort of pauses at that moment that you get struck, and there's this second where she goes to make a lunge for this man as he sort of turns and reels as if he's about to go towards her. I need you to make a speed check, please, either to get away and call her to you, or stop him heading towards her, because that's what he's doing. Now, I'm not saying he's going to get to her, I'm saying he's on his way towards her. I'm gonna make this choice before I roll. I honestly think he knows Astrid can handle herself, so he's gonna try and leave and call her to him. Okay. He is gonna swing, so could you roll me a speed check, please?
Okay, I'm gonna spend some more effort. 18.
Yeah. Describe how Reese runs away and calls Astrid to him.
So I imagine we were kind of circling around the journal because Reese had been right there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think he ended up far enough away that it almost looks like he's lunging for this other person, but what he does is he dives towards the journal to scoop it up and like to slide past and get back on his feet, since the person is now focused more on Astrid.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, you can do exactly that. Are you heading up to the stairs to head back in the direction of Paula and Florence now, or are you running to leave the Star Caves?
We're gonna try and find Paula and Florence and the rest of the group.
Okay. I will say you can sort of do this slide and skid. You grab this journal. You're sort of almost on all fours, and you manage to charge almost the same way as Astrid. As Astrid locks onto you, she starts charging after you, and you can head up towards those stairs, and you get a good head start. But you can hear this almost this rage, this gripe from this man who you can see his whole hand is starting to turn into this diamond-like form as he clenches his fist and starts to charge after you. Paula and Florence, you are heading back to this room. You head back down that corridor, and you watch Mikkel sort of sees you go out of confusion and starts running right behind you, and you can head back into that domed room where all of the drawings were. Avrik isn't there. Tuva isn't there. Rika isn't there. You can see where their things are. It doesn't look like they've collected their things and left. Welcome, Raiders! It doesn't look like they've taken their things and left. It almost looks like it's been either abandoned or there's been a bit of a struggle. What would you like to do?
Oh no, this situation just got from bad to worse real quick.
Yes, it did, but we're gonna fix everything. Mikkel, and Florence will turn to where he is and frantically is asking him, did you see what happened to the others? They were here and then they weren't. We were only gone for like 5-10 minutes.
And he sort of walks into the room, he looks at you, and then he starts to walk past you. He walks past you into this huge dome room where all the drawings are. There's this huge column in the center, these 4 pillars around the outside, and he looks different. He doesn't... It's Mikkel, but it's almost like he looks more switched on. He doesn't look as confused as he was before. And he reaches out and he touches the pillar at the center of this room. And Florence and Paula, could you both roll me an intellect check, please?
Would this be potentially an history or archaeology situation?
It would not, but it is a perception if you have perception.
Perception? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to spend 2 effort. Not worth it.
Okay. There's a moment, and Florence, you see this first. As Mikkel's hair seems to start to just raise up a bit as much as his clothes, and there seems to be this whip of this air starting to circulate the room. You see it first as you see Paula start to raise up off of the floor, as well as yourself. You almost start to hover the same level as Mikkel, and the room feels like it's starting to swirl, like it's spinning rapidly. Everything gets disorientated, and Mikkel seems to be the one center, this focus, this thing in the room that is not changing. You watch these drawings move, almost like one of those the scenes where it's like the horse is running, and you can see all of these sketches, these carvings, all of these things start to come to life as if they all start moving. Every single thing starts playing into effect. You watch the 5 moons start to swirl. You see the sun rise and set, rise and set. You see the mountains, and something is climbing up over them as this happens. And there's this moment where you see Mikkel's eyes flash this purple, and you both feel your feet touch the ground. It's almost like you've been dropped. You feel yourself sort of plant as you stand in this snow, this earth, mountains in the distance, 5 moons in the sky, the sun setting, a waterfall over in the distance, and you notice standing either side of you are rows of hundreds of thousands of people as you stand in the middle of the battlefield. And there's a moment where you look up at the sky and everything starts to go quiet. You can see the flags and these banners flapping in the wind as these people stand rigid either side of you. And overhead is when you hear it. As this huge creature through the sky, this dragon, these set of wings, as it almost blocks out the light from these moons, it comes careering up over the mountains. And at first, it's just one, and then there's another, and another, and another, before you see the sky filled with about 6 or 7 of these huge dragons, all these different colored scales. There's the moons themselves sort of cast this light across these scales, and each one has a rider as they sort of fly across the battlefield. What would you like to do?
What the heck, Florence? I don't think we should be here.
I agree with you, but I don't think we have a choice right now. And Florence like almost reaches down to touch the snow beneath her, trying to figure out, is this a vision or are we actually here?
Okay, you reach down and you can grab that earth. It is cold. You can feel the dirt amongst your hands as you draw it back, and you can see that almost like damp mud leave itself on your palm. You can both feel that cold breeze, and I mean cold breeze. You see the banners on either side sort of flap in the wind. One of them, a magpie with its wings broad, as these dragons fly overhead. And to your right, where the magpie banners fly, is the woman. In furs, tall, sword ready in hand.
Is Mikhail still around?
He doesn't seem to be.
Shit. Where did Mikhail go? Florence, where did Mikhail go?
That's a good question, and I think another good one is, where did he put us? Or when did he put us? This might just be me, but I feel like we've been tossed inside of a painting, or rather inside of the carvings on the cave.
Very good observation, but I don't think that's going to save our lives when these two armies come running towards each other.
You know, maybe I'm focusing on the wrong thing right now. Do you see Avrik or Tuva or Rika? Maybe they also got swept here.
No, all I see is some armies and a lady in furs from the painting that we were looking at in the cave in the frozen north.
Okay, so we're here now. Hopefully whatever put us here will take us back. But until then, maybe we can learn more. We had so many questions about the paintings that we couldn't have answered just from looking at them. Maybe now's our chance to kind of explore a little bit.
I'm a little less keen on exploring when there's 5 massive dragons flying over our head, but I am totally down to find a way to get back to where we were. Which
okay, so where do we start?
might be a form of exploring in itself. Maybe we can start by the lovely lady in furs that seems to know what she's doing. I mean, she looks like she's pretty sure of herself.
I like that. I wonder if I had to make a guess, maybe her name is Thara. Maybe she's the one the bridge is named after. I could be wrong. Maybe it's the place or the battlefield or one of those dragons, but maybe it's a good place to start.
Would you
I'd
both
say so.
roll an intellect check for me, please?
This is a perception.
It is a perception.
Okay. This time, wait, how many advantages do I have? I can't really tell. 2? I'm not gonna bother. I'm just gonna do a straight roll. Ooh!
Okay. You both stand there in the middle of this battlefield. There's this pause as these dragons fly overhead. Both armies stand at a very long distance to you. On the other side, you see these people. They seem to be a mix of both people and these strange creatures. You notice that a lot of their skin seems to have these markings on them as they start to glow. There is not a single Inarque on the field. You see no Inarque and no magic here. And up in the distance, rising up from the side of the mountain, is this huge giant, as if it was a mountain itself, pulling itself up out of the ground. You watch the rubble fall and the rubble drop. And there's this moment as you see it rise up, these markings all over it, very much like the ones you saw before, start to glow. And then as much as you are focused on that one for a moment, you see another one appear over the horizon. Another and another as they start making their way towards the battlefield. And these dragons almost rear up as one of them tries to fly in towards this giant. And one of these dragons comes and lands, crashing on the battlefield next to you. You feel that gust, you almost fall over as these huge wings span out. This person atop, riding it, in full armor and fur. And this helmet is off, and a woman sits atop, long dark hair, with these red fabrics that seem to run through her armor itself. And she withdraws a bow and arrow, that same sort of material of stone, points it and fires. And you suddenly start to notice both of these armies start to charge. The dragon takes off as they all start to reach up into the sky in this formation. You hear something in some other language, almost like a war cry. The only word you recognize is Dunera. As these armies start to charge and clash. What would you like to do?
All right, I don't know if this is a play dead situation, but I feel like I want to be close to the ground right now.
Close to the ground, out of the way of any arrows, but I don't know, you're right. We have to look. If we can't look for a way to get out, maybe these people are fighting the giants. The last time we saw one, well, I don't want to think about it, but it was not a good day. If there's anything these people do that's effective against one of them, maybe we can learn that now and take it back with us when we get back.
If we get back, but good thinking. And I think Paula would frantically search for a place to hide.
I will say that you can both feel the ground rumbling. You look at the floor, and the stones that are on the floor are sort of juddering and bouncing up and down as these thousands of footsteps start coming charging towards each other. You see these huge giants start swiping at these dragons in the sky. One of them crashes out into down onto the ground and comes skidding. You see its rider flung off as they start this assault. This other army that is charging towards you with these creatures, these people that aren't people. They look wrong, they look twisted, and as they come, it's almost like galloping towards you. You notice their eyes are fully black. These giants, however, you look and you realize the only magic on the field is coming from them, as these huge swirls of energy seem to be manifested and thrown towards this other army, the one coming up behind you with this woman, this warrior, as she comes screaming, tearing forward, some on horses' back, some on these huge, almost like ram-like creatures as they come charging, and these rams throwing their heads to the side, almost sending people from the other side of this army hurling through the sky as it clashes with you at the center, as people start to stream past you. You can try and weave to get out as fast as you can. I'll need a speed check from both of you.
I think this is definitely one of those situations where Paula's like, oh shit, and she ducks and like is trying to like as the wave is incoming almost in slow motion. Speed defense.
Yes, please.
And I think as they start bobbing and weaving out of the way, like Florence almost reaches out to like grab Paula's hand. Let's not get separated here.
Definitely not. And I'm going to use an advantage on this one. And also 2 effort. It's okay, I got my advantage. Let's see. Oh. F.
I'm sorry we're stealing everyone's fire tonight.
There's a moment where you don't feel like you're being knocked over by hundreds and hundreds of people like you should be, but you feel something hit you. And Florence, as you go to reach for Paula's hand, it's at that moment that one of these rams come charging through, knocking you both sideways as this huge, almost like dark creature. It almost reminds you a bit like of the night hag, as this thing comes sort of clawing and charging through. This ram just sends it flying, but it also sends you, Paula and Florence, in complete separate directions. And you look up, and some of these people seem to be running through you, almost as if it's not fully touching you, but passing through you. And from somewhere you sort of look up, and it's just this mass of bodies of people running and fighting. You hear the clash of blades, you hear metal on metal, you hear screaming and yelling as you have both been separated and you can't see each other.
So I think when Florence experiences that first feeling of something almost like phasing through her instinctual reaction is her eyes flash gold, and she kind of activates her ability to, for the longest time, she thought it only let her see people who had passed on or who had died, but she's starting to understand that it has more to do with veils, or is more complicated than she understands, but she'll flick that on and take another look at the battlefield.
Okay, whilst Florence is doing that, what is Paula doing?
I think at first Paula curls up on the ground and goes into a ball, but then when she realizes that nothing is touching her and that things are facing through her, I think she realizes kind of what's happening and slowly gets up and tries to peek her head over all the bodies of the armies, trying to look for Florence.
You do notice as there's this moment, there's a couple of these night hag, these creatures. Thank you so much for those subs. Some of these night hags, as they come throwing themselves very animalistically towards these people in this army, as they're being thrown down, they're crashing onto the ground. You see these horrible claws sinking in and just, it's not pretty. They're shredding people. And you notice as some of them stand back up, they're no longer fully who they were. And there's a moment where you see one of these huge creatures turn and look directly towards you, Paula. and it stands and it hulks and its shoulders start to roll, but there's a crash as this dragon, these huge talons come careering through this crowd, taking out almost a wave of these things. The huge wings battering sort of as they hit you. This breeze hits you again, sends you flying. And somewhere you hear what can only be described as a war horn. And over in the distance, you can see where the mountains are. There's almost this flood of people. And it's not just people, as these these humans, armed and kitted out with, as if dressed fully for battle, each one with a huge wolf at their side, even bigger than Astrid. These things are almost the same size as the people they stand by as they come flooding over the side of this mountain pass like a wave. Florence, could you roll me an intellect check, please?
Yes, I can. You know what? I have an advantage that I will spend on this one. Okay.
That was lucky. Hype train! Hello, everyone. Florence, I will say, Paula, you can look over and you see Florence through this darting like crowd. It's almost like a fast train going past. You only just about see her as she stands completely still, head sort of dropped back, eyes flashing gold as they do. And Florence, as you do, you have this overwhelming sensation of death around you. This coldness of every single person around you seems to be emitting this bizarre feeling. It almost becomes overwhelming. And I will say again, what really stands out to you as this happens is you can't feel a single Inarquay on this battlefield. In fact, it's almost like the air itself is completely devoid of any form of human magic. And as you do, you notice that as your eyes are flashing gold, one of these giants that is currently on the battlefield, just with these fists sweeping through, crashing through these people, you see these bodies fly. These huge like horses and these sheep, like these rams sort of charging around it, almost trying to circle it. And this moment, as your eyes flash gold and you look around, you notice the giant's eyes flash gold. And it stops on the battlefield before turning and looking straight towards you, as if at this moment, this isn't just an image for you anymore. This thing can see you. And it turns and it looks, and for a moment it looks confused, and you see all of these patterns shift from that light blue glow to this gold matching your eyes. And as much as it sort of tips its head and looks at you, it does something you've seen before. It starts to sniff the air, and it starts to run and charge across this battlefield towards you, and you specifically, not caring what is in its path, as it crushes every caravan, everything that is on this battlefield, destroying it on its way to you. And Paula, you feel the ground drop and raise, that is, it shudders as this thing starts to run. And you notice that it's almost like Florence is locking on its eyes with it, and it's not breaking.
Florence, what did you do? And I think Paula's gonna start running towards Florence, like trying to like she's gonna try to like jump Florence, like hopefully knock her out of whatever mode she's in, so that way it loses sight of her.
I will say, Florence, you don't feel Paula there at the moment. You feel like there's almost like a thread, like a line connecting you and this giant. And Paula, I'm gonna need you to make a might check to try and wake Florence up.
Okay.
Maybe you're gonna have to shake her.
All right.
It's up to you.
So I'm going to use muscles of iron. So that's
knock her out.
that's one might point. So I get the difficulty of all might-based actions is reduced by 1 step. Okay. And you said this is just a might check.
This is a might check.
Okay, let's do this
Because
thing.
you either need to shake or slap Florence out of it after that roll.
I am going to spend 4 effort because I never use might. So. Oh wait, I forgot to add the 4 effort. There we go. 4. Oh my god. Really? Are you kidding me?
You shake it. Well, I don't know, would you be slapping Florence? Are you shaking her? What are you doing?
I think Paula is definitely like she ran and like with the momentum of her body as she's running towards Florence, like is kind of like that kind of motion, you know, like
okay.
Like,
I will say, because of your muscles of iron though, you've grabbed Florence by the face and you're trying to get her to come around. And Florence, there's that moment where you seem to snap out of it. Paula, you see her eyes sort of retract the gold. You still see flecks there. But Florence, you're looking directly in Paula's face, but just behind, coming up, almost blocking out that light from the moons, is this giant. And you need to make a speed check to get you and Paula out of the way. And I will say, you can still feel that this thing is actually focused on you. It doesn't just seem like a carving anymore.
I think Florence was just starting to recognize that this thing had locked onto her, and I think she was beginning to articulate some question to ask this battlefield as she's shaken out of it. And when her eyes lock with Paula, she's just breathing so heavily. It can see us. It can see us. We have to go.
Yeah. You think?
Okay.
Oh wow.
Describe how you pull both of you out of the way as you see this foot come up and come crashing down towards you.
I think as Florence is telling this to Paula, something she's of course obviously figured out herself, she grabs onto Paula's hand again. I won't let go this time, and just begins like yanking on Paula's arm, and they start booking it across the battlefield. I think weaving in between these ram-like mounts as you know, the battle line continues to crash. And it's like that moment when you're able to see the path forward in a crowd of people.
Okay. Reese, you're running back towards this room. You can feel this person hot on your heels behind you as you do. And it's almost a scrabble. Like you can feel like you, because a lot of this is rock that is sort of shaking, you sort of manage to get through the first bit where they dug through. You can hear him behind you as he comes scrabbling up. This staff helps supporting him as he digs through. And you sort of arrive through this doorway, and as you look up, you're not in the domed room yet, but you look at the ceiling and something. Ooh, I get 8 disadvantages. Thank you, Subtrain. I get to use those. There's this moment of the ground, but the ceiling above you is starting to shake. Dust is falling from the roof, and these pebbles start to drop, and you can feel the ground moving, and something seems to be going on in the direction where you know Florence and Paula went to find Averick and Tuva. And you can still hear that heavy breathing of that man behind you as he comes scraping down the corridor. would you like to do?
Is there, as I'm doing this all, is there any easy way that I could attempt to block the passage so he can't get through?
You are aware, again, as I said, of the ceiling shaking, and you can see that some of it is starting to drop. There's bits of rock dropping, so if you want to try and collapse the tunnel that he's currently coming through, I will let you do that. If you want to roll a might. Or anything else.
I would like to do that, but I'm not sure how I would. Yeah, I don't know how. I don't have anything cool like making myself stronger to start punching the rock and make it fall or anything like that. So, I think we're just gonna keep running for now.
Okay, you keep running. You hear that scrape now. This man doesn't seem to be running after you anymore, but you can hear that staff of diamonds just being scratched along the wall as he drags it, as he's now strolling after you, almost not really looking towards. There's no real hurry in his step, and you notice he almost seems completely oblivious to these rocks and things like that are dropping. It's either that or he doesn't care. And you can see this very wild look in his eyes. What would you like to do?
I mean, I don't like how unconcerned with everything he is, so I guess we're gonna stop and try and deal with him. So, yeah, I think... Oh, man. I think, with the knife in one hand and the journal in the other, Reese, like, shoves the journal in his shirt or what's left of his coat under where the furs were. And he turns... because he hears the guy just dragging that diamond staff around and going nice and casually slow. And, God, what? Yeah, I think he just stands like this. So, what's the church doing all the way out here?
And he steps through this corridor into the same room as you. It's the room before the domed room, and he looks at you and smiles. You know Gideon.
No shit, I asked what you were doing with my friend's book.
And his eyes seem to be quite piercing. He doesn't seem to be asking a question. It's more of a statement, and there's a moment where you notice when the black veins start to reach, you can see it creeping up the side of his neck and onto his face as this bizarre smile cast across his face. That means you're Reese Blackash, doesn't it? And he sort of switches the staff into his other hand and takes a stance. And you notice this owl in Archway that comes swooping into the room after him, leaving this trail of grey, almost like smoke. As it gets bigger, the wings spread out behind him, almost as if it latches itself onto his back. almost giving him the illusion of having wings himself.
Cool, this is fine. I'm sure this is fine. I made a very big face, but I think all Reese does is arch his eyebrow when the man is like, "You must be Reese Lagash."
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Well, you probably learned that from the journal, so big deal. Why are you chasing Gideon? What are you doing out here?
And he shakes his head. I can't read the journal. And at that, he swings for you. As it comes sort of like crashing down towards you, I need you to make a speed check to dodge, as this staff has also seemed to have stretched and got longer, almost like a full-on staff now.
Okay, my speed pool's getting a little low, but I think I'm gonna spend at least one effort, because that staff does not seem nice. Natural 1.
Okay.
Thanks, roll 20.
How would Reese try to defend himself as this staff comes crashing down? And you see him coming in. You feel a lot of weight behind it as this staff sort of pushes you back and comes crashing down. How would Reese protect himself?
I think maybe what happens is Reese is trying to sidestep like he had been doing, and there's enough loose rubble under his foot because of all the shaking that he slips, and rather than being able to get out of the way, his only option is to like put his arms up to block like his head.
You slip, and as you do, you sort of come crashing down. You hear this snarl from Astrid as this staff comes crashing down, and you block with your arms, and it hits your wrist. And there's a bizarre sensation, almost as if you've just stuck your hand in an ice cold pool, as this grey sort of black starts to reach across your skin and across your arm, and you can feel it. It's almost like a searing, stinging pain as this happens. You see this blackness start to engulf all the way down your wrist, all the way across your hands, until your arm almost becomes completely black of the spider web of veins, and you can feel almost like a pressure as your hand starts to change into this solid diamond from the elbow all the way up to the tips of your fingers. You feel this incredible weight crash down on the floor, and you realize it's your arm as it feels that much heavier. And there's this big smirk across this man's face as he reaches down and takes the front of your jacket and pulls you right up to his face, almost uncaring at how close you are. He told me you were better than this. As he looks straight at you in the eyes, you can see this wildness there, as if you're not even sure if this man is fully here, because you sense this bizarre thing more from Astrid. There's something wrong with his Anarquay. This isn't what it's supposed to do. It's almost like the infection that is currently going on in your hand, as it changes, is an infection within this own man's another way.
I could attempt to ask questions or reason with him, but you know what? The way this situation is going, being held up by my coat, my arm slowly turning to diamond, I think I'm gonna try and punch him in the damn face with my diamond hand.
I tell you what, because it's diamond, roll might with advantage for me. I will say Astrid is currently snarling and trying to drag him off of you, but for some reason, and that's where the wildness comes in, because nothing should be able to resist Astrid's grip, and she is locked around one of his legs.
Okay, I'm gonna roll with the advantage you gave me, and I'm gonna spend some effort because I have my might pool is still pretty solid. A 10.
Describe it for me as you punch this man in the face. He's pulled you right up
Yeah,
to
so
his own face.
He's pulled me right up, right? We're very close. And I think knowing that at some point he's going to lose full function of however much of his arm is effective, he manages to curl his fingers into a fist. And maybe more with his torso, he pulls his whole arm up and just slams it into the guy's face, the side of his head.
You lay there and you can feel it's almost like you're wielding a hammer as you feel like you're pulling the weight with your shoulder and your body rather than having full control over the arm itself. And you notice that you feel it. You feel that searing, almost like a burning pain as you curl up your fist. And there is some feeling left in this arm as you hear a crunch as you crash into the side of this man's jaw and across his head as it sort of, you see it shift. You see his jaw shift as his whole body sort of flings across to the side, and you notice that he crashes into this stone wall beside you, and he for a moment it looks like he's about to get back up, and then his eyes roll back and he crashes down onto the floor, and you hear that clatter of this diamond staff hit the floor. And I think that is where we will take our break for now. So everyone, go stretch, go get a drink, go tell your pets you love them, and we will be back in a moment. Bye. Reese, you are there. You are laying in this room, sort of half up, half down, as this man with the sunburst, the representation of the sun on his chest, this diamond staff is clattered to the floor as he lies there, out. And you can feel the weight of this heavy hand as Astrid comes bounding towards you and sort of licking you all over your face. You can hear that whine and that panic as she starts to try and pull at your clothes, the sort of the sleeve where your arm is, as she doesn't look happy.
You know, I'm gonna indulge myself, and I think, I mean, because Reese has been running, and yeah, he's in shape and stuff, but this arm is heavy, and he's been fighting and running, so I think there's that moment of like, how's that for better? And then he starts to try and stand up with Astrid pulling on him.
Yeah, you manage to stand, and you can physically feel this weight now where your arm once was. Now this almost like this diamond, it's almost like a prism from your elbow up. You can still see these black like veins where your veins are sort of run through it, so it's not completely clear, but it is heavy. And Astrid sort of looks to you. She whines in the direction of the domed ceiling, and you also look up, and you can see that the ceiling is still shaking, and bits are starting to fall.
When this person drops the staff, does it go back to normal? Or whatever
Yeah,
it was?
as soon as it sort of, when he seems to be out of it, you can see it starting to almost like change back very, very slowly.
Okay. I have no idea what's going on. We'll take it with us, I guess, because I don't know that I can break it. But I don't want him to have it. Even though at least some of what's going on is him and not it, but... So, yeah. Reese goes over and grabs this staff thing, and... I don't know. Sticks it somewhere that it won't touch him after he's done picking it up. Just in case.
Okay. You can do that. You can easily get rid of it. You can see that again that the ceiling and the ground is shaking, so if anything there's lots of debris around right now. You can hear down this corridor in the which you know there is this small corridor that leads you to the domed room. You can see it shaking, and there is this blinding, almost purple blue light coming and radiating from down this hallway. And you know Paula and Florence went in that direction.
Well, I think he's kind of leaning because this thing's heavy, and his other hand's probably on Astrid at this point. Do you think they're faring any better than we are?
She sort of just looks up at you with her big eyes, no real... She doesn't look happy. If anything, she's just sort of now licking the diamond hand that you have, not... But she's almost pulling you in that direction.
Yeah, we better hurry. We'll
Okay.
go.
And you head off. Paula and Florence, you stand on this battlefield. These giant, this giant is sort of turning and trying to find you as it sweeps around. And you notice this army of people in these wolves come almost streaming past you behind you. And these wolves are huge. They're much bigger than Astrid. They're about the size of Reese, if not taller, and obviously much, much longer as they come cantering down, and they start to climb and swarm this giant as they sort of throw themselves at it. You can see almost like their other halves, their human halves, are coming, sort of fighting alongside them, and you notice how in sync they are. They move together. It's almost, they don't say a single word to either of their wolves, but they all seem to move in sync. You can see these dragons overhead as this other giant is sort of swiping here and there. One of these dragons comes crashing down, sliding through the battlefield as it takes out all of its people in its path, and you watch the rider roll to a still, and you can hear this strong and powerful voice in a language you don't understand ringing over the battlefield of this woman, as almost charging towards you, doesn't seem to be aiming for you, but it's coming in your direction. It's this huge ram with these large sort of horns as she comes charging through, knocking people out of the way as she goes. What would you like to do?
I think first, I think Florence is still pulling herself and Paula away from the giant and is trying to kind of create as much distance as possible until she feels confident that it's not going to try, that it's like lost track of where they are. Because even though everything else in this space seems to phase through them, she has a feeling if they got stepped on by the giant, it would be for good.
Okay. Is Paula doing anything in particular?
As she's like getting pulled by Florence by the arm, I think Paula fumbles for that fan again for like, and it's just like, be good for something for once, and and she just kind of holds it out just to like spreads it open, holds it out, hopefully obscuring them at least a little bit in the midst of all this chaos.
Absolutely. As you do, you sort of turn it to one side and you see these creatures run past you, almost paying no mind to you whatsoever. And this battlefield is devastating. There are people everywhere lying on the floor, as well as these creatures. You could hear this huge crash come from somewhere as you watch one of the giants fall to its knees, as all of these these ropes seem to be coming around it. It's throwing these sort of like blazing, almost like flames of this white magic across the field, and you notice it seems to just take out and just destroy almost explosively, but every now and then there's these pockets that sort of fall over the people and start to bulge and shift, and the people that come back out of them are not the people that went in. And I need you both to make an intellect or perception check for me, please. Okay. Florence, you've pulled Paula out of the way, and you're both stood there now as Paula is moving this fan around, almost deflecting whatever it is that is coming towards you. And you see a face in a crowd that stands completely still. No movement whatsoever. And Malcolm stands there in the middle of the battlefield. People seem to be running through him. And he looks directly at you. There's no movement. He stands and slowly reaches his hand out.
I think Florence promised Paula she wasn't gonna drop her hand, but when she sees Malcolm, her body just goes rigid for a second and then almost limp, and she finds herself almost being pulled in that direction. It's like that thread she felt with the giant, but this one's stronger, this one's older, this one has more than just, it's not just that fear of being connected to the giant for that moment. This is that thread of history and longing, and she finds herself moving towards him as much as she can.
And Paula, you feel Florence's hand drop and leave you. She starts to weave very slowly through this crowd as if the people on this battlefield don't matter anymore. But what you see is Florence is making her way towards this creature. This creature that stands almost twice the height of Reese. Its head sort of on a much longer neck, sort of leering down. This almost sort of contorted human shape where it's almost like it's too tall for the body it's in as it looks, and it holds out this very gnarled hand towards Florence, and Florence is walking towards it gladly.
Not this again. And I think Paula, very frustrated, will try to like go back and grab her hand again and kind of like yank her back by her arm, by Florence, if she can.
I will say, Florence, you feel your arm get grabbed and you're being pulled, but it is very much equal on what it is, unless Paula, you want to make it more drastic and roll a might to effectively fight Florence to pull her back.
I think Florence's arm goes completely rigid. Like we see, she's a short and stocky woman, and she is strong too. And we see like almost every vein pop in her arm as she resists Paula.
And Florence, you see this arm outstretched of Malcolm reaching towards you. He's like, "Don't leave me again."
I couldn't even if I wanted to. What are you? I don't care why you're here. I'm just glad that you are.
Paula, could you roll a might to...
Yeah, I think Paula's like just, not like, she's not like pulling like she's gonna rip her arm off, but she's like holding it in place so Florence doesn't move any closer, and she's trying to shout over Florence, and this isn't what you think it is, Florence. This, snap out of it, and actually I'm gonna use my auto success on this roll.
So you see this creature sort of tip its head. It's almost like the neck is stretching and leering towards Florence as if it's sort of reaching down to a much greater height. And there's this moment where you see this sort of almost like it's that gold color that swirls in Florence's eyes. You hear her Inarque screeching and flapping wildly, as it almost is as if like you can see some of this gold leave Florence. And Florence, you hear Paula's voice ring through these clashings of metal and Malcolm's own voice, and you see his face, and for a moment it distorts, and you see this creature inches from your own face.
There are tears starting to well up in her eyes. It's this reaction she can't shove down every time she sees his face. And when she hears Paula's voice, Florence turns around. She like snaps at Paula, and there is fury in her eyes. How dare you try and take him away from me? And then she like sees that distortion. Is she able to kind of snap out of this with Paula's help?
Yeah, with Pola sort of shouting through, it's almost like that's what breaks it. It's like it takes away your concentration. And you are faced with this hideous, leering creature, which is not Malcolm.
I think Florence goes to shout again, and it sinks in what this is, and tears start streaming down her face again as she realizes once again it's this vision of someone she loves so much, and she wants to be there and sit with it, but it's another illusion.
I think when Paula sees that Florence is getting upset about this, she lowers her voice and she sounds a little bit less frustrated, but she says, "Florence, I'm really sorry, but we can't stay here. We have to keep moving."
Yeah, no, and she wipes at her eyes. If you weren't here, I think I'd be standing still in more ways than one. Okay, where do we go next?
Question for Alice. So when we saw like those pockets where it said that it looked like people were coming out of them.
Yeah.
Like, did they almost look like portals? Like, did it look like it was like a connection to, or like a door?
The one thing I will say is where all the wolves and everything came from, they almost came over the hill, over the mountains, and there was nothing the other side. They had to come through something.
Okay. So I think Paula will point towards that barrier, or that invisible barrier, and explain, that might be an exit. Those wolves, they're coming from somewhere. And I think anywhere that's not here seems like a good option.
Yeah, no, I like that. Let's go. I'm done with ghosts for today.
Yeah, no more of that glassy-eyed stuff.
Agreed.
And you can both take each other's hand and start running in that direction. Reese, you come tearing down that corridor back into the domed room, and the whole room itself seems to be spinning and swirling. The pillar at the center is almost a blur to you as it becomes almost out of control. You can see Mikkel at the center, who is almost completely unresponsive. There is nothing sort of going on completely around him. There is no Tuva, there is no Averick, no Rika, but you can see Florence and Paula, almost like their arms are by their side as they look up towards this ceiling that is swirling with all of these patterns. You can see this sort of carving of the dragon swirl around the top of the ceiling, and this giant sort of fighting it. This battle sort of raging on in these drawings. And Paula and Florence are suspended in midair with this whirl of color and light surrounding them. You can see the 4 pillars on either side of the room. They have these bizarre symbols that seem to be lighting up and glowing at the tops where it's holding the ceiling in place. And as that happens, as you enter the room, the top of each pillar seems to break away. Each a different shape, each holding onto this symbol. And you realize that this is not made of the same rock as the one you stand in. As the 4 pieces start to swirl around the room, around Florence and Paula, almost like a magnet as they seek each other out, swirling, starting to form this strange shape as if they almost put themselves together like a puzzle. Is this in character? Just this isn't good.
I mean, I think because he doesn't have any real magic. I think there's this magic. Why? And honestly, he doesn't know what to do. I think his only concern is making sure that whatever's going on isn't going to hurt his friends as best as he can. Because if these things are flying around, they theoretically could get hit by it. So, okay. I don't know, he's gonna go to Paula and try and, like, with one hand, try and pull her down if she's suspended.
Yeah. You feel a resistance, but Paula, as you're running through the battlefield, you feel something pulling you. Something pulling you almost in the direction of where these wolves seem to have come from. It's almost like someone else has taken your hand is dragging you and Florence across this battlefield. Or now you're just running. You're running and you are weaving sort of in between the people, but even when you knock, it feels like you pass through. And it's like where you're headed is getting brighter and brighter, almost blinding, as if you're running into this sun rising up the side. And Reese, could you make a might check for me, please?
Yes, a 3. Thanks, Roll20.
You pull. And Paula, there's this moment where you feel your hand leave Florence's. And Florence, this white light seems to engulf Paula. And she's gone. And you're left on this battlefield.
I think Florence will run into the spot where she last saw Paula and almost like try to strike the same pose or whatever she saw Paula do, and then shout out, "Take me too!"
Reese, you sort of pull on Paula, and as you do, Paula, you come back and you look below you and you drop out of the air almost onto Reese. And you realize this room swirling around you. You can see these bits of rock slowly as they start connecting together. And Florence is still in there.
I think as Paula drops, she's like, "Watch out, narrow!" Or like, like just like exclaiming some like warning towards Florence, which might be very confusing. Which to someone who has no idea what just happened, but just yeah, she'll exclaim some warning.
Yeah, I think if Paul is tumbling down towards him now, he probably is trying not to touch her with the diamond arm because he's not sure what's going on with that. And he's just like, "Come on, I don't know what's going on, but we gotta, Florence is the same thing you were doing. I don't know, magic." And he goes over and is gonna start trying to pull on her too.
Okay, can you roll me a might check, please?
We're gonna spend some more effort. Because Roll20's turned against us again. A 17! Because I spent effort.
There's a moment as Florence, as you're stood on this battlefield, and that giant has spotted you again and is running towards you. And there's that moment as it comes so close, and it's like you feel these hands grab your feet and everything goes bright, and you're back in the room. You see Paula below you, see Reese pulling on you, and you sort of drop down to him. This room is still swirling.
Florence probably almost hurls and probably like hits the deck and like reaches out to touch whoever's foot is closest to her. Oh my god, are we actually back?
Where the hell is Mikhail?
And Mikhail, like you see almost this. It's like he's become part of the center pillar. He almost looks like a stone statue himself as he is frozen in place. You can see stone covering his body. As there's that moment where the last two pieces slot into place. And this artifact falls from the sky in this room and crashes on the floor.
Where's Tuva? Where's Averick? Where's Rika?
I didn't see any of them. Wherever we were.
I mean, you were right there. You were just in the air.
Well, not exactly. I'm sure Florence can explain. Paula says, trying not to, like, because she doesn't really understand what's happened, so.
I think Florence is still, like, grasping at her stomach, which is turning upside down. We were here, and then we were somewhere else. I think we were swept away by time or reality, but we were at the battle depicted here. It couldn't have been anything else. We can get into it more later, but that's what happened the moment we stepped in this room.
Reese, are we
Magic.
safe here? Oh.
Safe. Maybe. I don't know. There's
You can both see Reese's arm as it sort of hangs there heavier, because I'd say, Reese, you're probably still not used to it, so you're almost tipping
he's
slightly.
probably either he's like leaning back to counterbalance it super far, or it's like he's leaning down because it's hanging heavily off him. One of the two. I mean, my plan didn't go quite as well as I had hoped.
That doesn't look so good, Reese.
It's fine, I'm sure. Magic, right? If we find Averick, I bet he can help.
Good point. Mikhail, want to chime in? You know?
And he has become completely part of this central pillar. Almost like a statue carved into this rock. He's not there anymore.
Well, that's just great.
Florence will activate her planar vision. Her eyes will go gold, and she'll see if she can see anything of Mikhail. She expects to. He was put here to guard this place, so she'd be pretty stunned if he were just gone.
He seems to be there, but he's also not there. It's almost like sleeping.
Hey,
Florence will look
Florence.
to the others.
Florence.
Oh, no, you're right. And she'll like blink again. It'll go away. Right, we're done with ghosts for today. But I don't know if Mikhail's quite right. He seems asleep, almost like he's done guarding this place, or maybe it has something to do with. And then she'll gesture towards this thing that's fallen to the floor. Maybe it has to do with that.
Reese is gonna go up and poke it with his diamond hand.
Yes.
You hear that sort of clank, almost as if it's a similar like material. And it's not see-through. It's not see-through like your arm. But it is almost like a crystal, but much harder, very dark, a very dark purple, almost black. with these symbols, which you can see sort of glowing around it but starting to fade, almost fully disappear again. It doesn't seem to do anything when you actually touch it.
I wish we had Tolan or Averick right now. He picks it up and he kind of just, as he watches the fading. So we need to go back and get Aiden. I didn't get that far, but this, and he kind of shakes his arm as best he can, is thanks to the guy in charge. I don't know, but it seemed like what he did to me is also affecting his Inanakwai. The lady with the Komodo dragon left. I don't even, everything happened so quickly. You don't have time to think.
No, don't worry about it. We just have to keep moving at this point. If we stay here, someone's gonna find us for sure.
Well, they were looking for another person, and I know who it is, and I think they're gonna need us. We need to make our way to the bridge as quickly as we can, and hopefully Averick and Tuva and Rika can find us.
Before we do, does this artifact that fell from the sky look like it could potentially fit into the window in the other room?
No, it's far too big
Okay.
for that. It looks far too big.
Okay.
It's almost this sort of size.
Okay.
You have a feeling that whatever was in the window was taken so that the door couldn't be opened, the same reason that it was broken.
Reese, do you think it would be safer to go back the way we came in the first time? Through the water?
Well, we need to go get Aiden from the big room where they were, and if the other half of them or whoever was out that left, if they haven't come back by now, I don't think we're in danger of them finding out. I think we can go out that way.
So the faster we move, the better.
Well, onwards. And Paula will kind of like sit up and dust herself off because I don't think she ever got up from.
You can definitely collect all the bits left behind because you noticed that what Averick left behind his tea things. You can see Tuva's small denim jacket cast at the side. And Florence, you see Rika's charm, very much like the one she gave you.
We gotta pick up all of this and take it with us.
Yeah, just in case they come back.
And when they do, maybe we'll get lucky and they'll pop out wherever we are. Things are so strange, it's hard to keep track of, but if they come back here and see that their stuff was taken, I think they'll know it was us who did it.
Hopefully.
Should we like leave a little note or something maybe? Or maybe like write something in the dirt? Like
My only concern is what if someone from the church comes back before?
what if we like not like leaving any hints, just like we have your stuff, just so they know that.
I mean, unless you're going to use someone's name, if I walked into where my stuff was and it's gone and all I saw was "we have your stuff" after seeing the church, I'm going to assume the worst.
Okay, you have a point.
What if what if I like the idea of leaving them a note before all of this happened. We had talked about going to the bridge, and I think that's still what we're gonna do. What if we just left him a note that said we're going where we said we would, or something like that, kind of cryptic, but still that they'd get it.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. And I think Paula will go to the textbook, like her dad's textbook, and we'll rip out a page that she's memorized, like, you know, because she used it for one of her dance routines, and she knows that page inside and out, and has that memorized. So she'll rip out that page and kind of like scrawl the note on there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I guess leave it like where they picked up all the stuff.
Okay. Is anyone picking up the artifact?
Already did.
Okay. You can easily store that away in a bag or something like that. It's not too big for anything like that. You can start to make your way out of this room back towards the huge hall.
When we walk past the unconscious guy, I think Reese is literally like, that's him, the motherfucker that did this to me. And to make sure he doesn't wake up for a while, he's gonna sock him with the diamond arm again.
Yeah.
He's not gonna kill him, but
knock
he's
him
gonna make
out.
sure he stays out longer.
Yeah, you can absolutely fully knock him out properly. And Florence, as you leave the room, you can definitely feel Mikkel's present there. But again, it's like it's dormant, like it's sleeping.
Yeah, I think before she leaves the room, she stops and just closes her eyes and sits with that feeling that was starting to get familiar and just remembers it for a second, and she'll whisper out into the room, hoping that even through his sleep, he can hear her words. We can't take all of this burden from you, but thank you for sharing this thing with us, and I promise we'll keep it safe. Sleep well, Mikkel.
You can head out, and you head towards that corridor that takes you back up onto the huge sort of balcony around the edges. And you look down and you see 3 bodies that seem completely knocked out. You can definitely tell, probably from what you saw there from Reese's interaction with them. Aiden is not there. You can see that a lot of their stuff is left. It doesn't look like they haven't doused the fire properly. They haven't taken all their bedrolls. It's almost like things have just been left. Would you like to do anything else before moving on?
Is there any like indication in like where they might have gone, or like if there's any trails or anything?
You can definitely see where they seem to have gone through the door at the very end, but that's about it. They don't seem to have taken much with them.
Are we gonna go after them? Get Adrian back?
I mean, I would assume they're still headed towards the bridge, because that's where Gideon was last spotted, and they said they wanted him. So I would assume Adrian is still with them. And we did just leave a note for the others saying that we'd go there.
All right. Well, looks like they went that way.
And they can't be too much farther ahead.
Okay. You start to head through that doorway. You go down the small steps, very much like the ones that were indicated to Reese before he jumped off of the balcony. But you walk through this archway, this tunnel, and it is very cold, and you feel the temperature dropping the higher you go. You pass through 4 or 5 different rooms, most of them full of rubble. Some of them you can see where they were maybe used for something before, almost like a city. See lots and lots of tunnels branching off in different ways, different places. You even come to some rooms where there looks like there were windows there once, but they've all been blocked off. Before you can feel gust of cold air, you can hear that whistle of the wind, and you can see snow, sort of where it's been swept in on the breeze. As you walk up these steps that get larger and larger, and as you take that step out, that cold hits you. And if you turn and look back, you've walked out of the side of a mountain with this huge, almost like temple-like building carved into the side of it, this huge doorway. A doorway not necessarily meant for human size. These huge pillars, so much of it is worn away, but you can still see everything there. The outlines of what was once here. And you step into the snow. The lake is far behind you. You could guess probably on the other side of the mountain that you've just come from. And stretching in front of you are is this sloping landscape. Mountains in the distance. And you stand at a height. And Florence, it's almost nostalgic for you for a moment. You stand on a cliff face. And you can see in the distance where that ice-cold ocean runs across the black sand beaches. Washed up on the shore are these huge chunks of ice that look like diamonds and glass. And even the sea itself is frozen. And you can hear it sort of clatter and break as it washes up, as it's ice shifting in the salt water. The moons are coming out. It's dark.
Are you two okay?
Never gone mountain climbing before.
It's not that tricky, though. I don't normally have this to deal with.
Yeah, it's actually not so bad when you have the right gear to do it. Reese, is this the ice cliffs or the ice coast? It's been a while since I've looked at a map.
Yeah, I think we're up that way because we're pretty close to the bridge, actually.
Do you think we're facing in the right direction? Do we just start putting one foot in front of the other again?
Alice, are we facing the right direction?
You're muted,
You
Alice.
think you're facing the right direction. You know, as long as the coast is on your left, you're heading in the right direction. And these skies are clear, but they're dark. So there's not really any cloud. And you can see stars starting to appear in this dark blue sky. And the moons start to rise up over the mountains. And that just the only sound you can really hear is that almost half frozen ocean washing up against the black sand. Every now and then that sort of shift where you can see big chunks of ice have broken away, sort of making channels in the sand itself. And the breeze is cold up here. This is not just an icy breeze, this is an icy ocean breeze, and you can taste the salt in the air.
Just for old time's sake, I think Paula will take out the compass just to see if it's changed at all, or if it's pointing back from where they came or somewhere completely new. She still can't seem to figure this thing out.
Yours points back to where you came briefly, and you can see the patterns have changed. It's no longer animals around the outside of this compass. These strange, weird symbols, almost like a writing you've never seen before. There's no writing you recognize. It's almost just like scribbles. It doesn't make sense, but it flows. And you see that each animal is almost given the shape to this letter, word, whatever it may be. But since finding the door, it's changed.
Can I use Decipher? If you spend 1 minute examining a piece of writing or code in a language you do not understand, you can make an intellect roll of difficulty 3 or higher to get the gist of the message.
Yeah, go for it. Roll an intellect for me.
Okay. I am going to use... I'm going to use 2 for my pool. Because Paula's just like, give me something useful. Something useful. Ooh!
Okay. You sort of stand on the edge of this cliff face. This wind is whipping your hair and your clothes about you, and it is cold. And you sort of hold this compass in your hands as it points back. And you watch these letters sort of swirl and glow. And it's not like you can suddenly read a different language. It's almost like some of the letters shift in front of your eyes to a language you can read. And there seem to be 2 words. And as they start to form, they start to swirl round. One seems to, you can sort of definitely make out the word pilgrim. And the other one is frequency. And Reese and Florence, could you roll an intellect check for me, please? Okay. Florence, if anything, you're just distracted by this view that you currently have. This ocean seems to reach far beyond anything you've seen before. And Reese, there's a weird feeling for you. As Astrid sits next to you, her ears perk up. And you can see Paula reading this compass. And you hear singing, as if it's coming from it. And you recognize that voice instantly, as if you'd heard it yesterday. As you can hear your sister's voice singing that song. Almost for a moment, it's as if it's on the breeze. So you can see Paula, like, maybe mouthing the words on this compass, or as she looks at it, and you can hear it clear as day, as if she was stood next to you again, like on that day. And it sings out into the night.
Paula just kind of is stood there and frequency, pilgrim. Does Paula hear this singing as well? Or
Paula
no?
doesn't hear the singing.
Paula, why is the compass singing?
Oh, I'm not sure what you mean, Reese. It's I don't hear anything.
He'll sing it. He knows what it is. He's heard it lots. He'll obviously it doesn't sound the same coming from him, but he repeats it.
I mean, it's a beautiful song, Reese.
It was coming from
But
the
I can
compass.
assure you this...
Florence, as Reese starts to sing it, you recognize it because you've heard it before. And it sends a bit of a chill down your spine. You can't see her anywhere, but you've heard the song.
I think Florence's hand just reactively goes to her chest in that motion she usually makes whenever she sees the little girl near Reese. And she looks around, doesn't see her, but will just let that heavy feeling sit with her for a moment.
I certainly don't hear the song of this compass, although, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was singing to you. These compasses tend to act wacky sometimes. I mean, right now, the symbols on it changed. It says something about pilgrims and frequencies, and I'm not sure what it means, but maybe you should take a look at it. And I think Paula will hand over the compass to Reese.
I'll take a look.
Reese, you take hold of that compass, and as you do, you feel like a small hand holds onto yours. Through the diamond, which is strange because you haven't felt any of the cold to this diamond hand, but you feel almost like a small hand. As at first you could have mistaken it for Tuva coming back, but it's got a warmth to it. And you can't see anything, but Florence, you can. Just for a moment, it's almost like it's letting you have a glimpse. It's not a lingering image. And Reese, Astrid sort of whines at you and comes and sits by your side as you feel that hand fall away. To you, the compass is a mixture of weird symbols, of weird words.
I don't think he'd even look at it at that point. He takes it and this happens, and I think, not speaking to anyone, but maybe it sounds like he's talking to Paula because she gave him the compass. There's a very quiet, "I'm sorry," and then he just hurriedly gives the compass back.
And Florence will take a step closer to Reese and almost like put her hand on his just to comfort him and say very softly, "She has never left your side."
So she's still out there somewhere.
Not just somewhere, but with someone. That someone's you.
Have you seen her, Florence?
And she'll nod quietly a couple times here and there. Always close to you. Usually humming a song.
She was a singer.
Yeah, you don't sing it quite as well, Reese, but it's
Well,
good to hear it from you.
It's not the same coming from me now. I heard Tolan sing it once too.
Hopefully we'll be able to hear it again from Tolan too.
Maybe I could whip up a little dance to it, you know. Paula just kind of like she does like a little jazz hands type thing.
I think Reese tries to smile and he shakes his diamond hand in his other hand and mimics Paula. That's not the
Oh,
same
we
when
got
I
to
do it
figure out
either.
what to do with that hand of yours.
I'm sure it'll be fine once we meet back up with Averick.
And Reese, you can move that hand fully. You're almost getting used to the weight, but you can't feel any cold or anything of this breeze. It's almost like you're wearing a really thick glove where the wind can't penetrate it.
It's weird, I can move it. It's heavy though.
Maybe if we're lucky, it'll subside with time, but I think y'all are right. Averick has a way with these kinds of things. We're gonna find him too.
You know, I gotta say, and don't tell Averick I said this, but I think that your diamond arm might be a little bit more useful than his eel arm. I mean, at least in terms of doing damage.
Maybe he can figure out how to replicate it as he fixes it.
Oh, that'd be cool.
I mean, I'd much rather he do it and have control over it than this.
Yeah, I'm not sure he has much control over much at this point, but I'm sure he'll get there one day. Most students do. Kind of like recalling her time back at the academy. There's always some growing pains. So how exactly are we scaling this mountain? You know, I think Paula's like appreciated that they got this nice break, but you know, I think as they're kind of sitting there in that moment, she's looking off this mountain and kind of realizing that at some point they're gonna have to get down it. And like that kind of hits her as like a ton of bricks.
Reese just slings off his bag, opens one of the flaps up, hauls a huge thing of rope out and a bunch of climbing utensils out, and we'll make it. It'll be fine. It'll be another adventure.
Florence's eyes light up when she sees all the climbing gear. You get the sense she knows exactly what to do with all of that.
Well, dude, smart.
I was
make her-
expecting to have to do this without those. I'm glad one of us is prepared.
I don't spend much time in cities, and I never know where I'm gonna end up, so... I mean, I didn't know we were gonna end up here.
Well, don't you two just seem very enthusiastic about the whole thing?
How is Paula feeling right now? You're sort of on a you're on a ridge that you can see in one direction is more mountain, more cliff face. You can see also a drop down onto the beach.
I think Paula is very comfortable with heights under the very specific circumstances that it's because she's in a very tall building and she's above city streets or canals or in a suspended trolley cart.
Or in an
But,
airship.
you know, out in nature, no way. Yeah, so Paula is a little concerned about the whole thing. You know, there's I'm a little concerned about the whole thing. Although I gotta say, I do take solace in the fact that the two of you do seem to know what you're doing. Here's something to consider. The moons are rising. Might it be best to do this in the daytime? When we can see what we're doing, perhaps?
I don't know about you, but I can see just fine.
Paula squints a little bit. No, it's definitely getting kind of dark out.
I must say I do like night climbing, but I've never done it without a headlamp before, and I didn't see one of those in your kit. I don't think my vision's quite as good as yours, Reese.
That's fair. Would you... I mean, I'm worried about letting everyone get too far ahead of us, but I agree that if you think it would be safer, we should wait.
Yeah, I'm all about saving Adrian, but I'd rather not fall off a mountain in the process. To be completely honest.
And with any luck, the sun going down is also slowing them down too.
It's true. We don't know what's out over there. There were night hags and those other things in the forest before. Maybe we should stay.
And
You know, this is like a kind of nice view, so I wouldn't mind chilling out for a bit.
And on that, you all three of you, now without Avric and Tuva and Rika, stand on this cliff's edge, looking out over the ice coast. That place Aggie told you about once. Those black sand beaches, that ice washing up on the shore. As the small waves, half ice, half water, break. And there's this almost line in the distance, and that's all you could call it because of how far away it is. A bridge. Huge bridge for you to see it at this distance. And with your backs turned, stood on the very top of that temple carved out of the rock is a woman with a large Komodo dragon sort of poised round her ankles. She gives a smile and turns and starts to descend. And I think that is where we will leave it this week for Top Doors of Dunera. So, thank you everyone for being here. Please check out all the links that are coming up in chat now. That includes the Discord. We do have a chat room purely for this game. We would love to hear what you think, and maybe if you have any theories. I know there's a lot of those going on in that chat right now, and it's always interesting to read them. Also, if you would like to get into a game, please head over to Twitter and drop Scrat a DM, and we will get you into a game. If you've missed out on anything and want to catch up, whether it's this episode, previous episodes, or even previous seasons, it is all on our YouTube, so you can head over there and check that out as well. A huge thank you to our wonderful sponsors in the form of Hero Forge with their colourful minis. You would have seen some of, not the coloured ones, but the examples of some in the load screen whilst waiting for us to go live. And we are doing some, thank you very much for that sub. We will be doing some more stuff with them very, very soon. Also, the wonderful Mage Hand Press. You can check out their Fae Folio. It is also one of their one of our viewer games, and which is on a Wednesday. Also, Dark Matter, which you can now buy in hardback, which is D&D and space smushed together, which is one of my favorite things in the world. Also, the wonderful Deck of Many with the Deck of Many Things, the Moving Magic spell cards, and one of our other viewer games, which is Humblewood, where you can come and play adorable little woodland critters and have Scrap run you through an amazing adventure. And last but certainly not least, our newest sponsor in Dungeon Fog, where it helps you create your campaign or your one-shot, whatever it is. You can print out the maps, you can have them digitally, and your notes and the maps, every time you alter something on them, they coincide with it as well. Otherwise, keep evoking emotions, and we'll see you next week. See you later. Bye.
Oh my goodness, everyone. So many poor choices, but Roll20 both came through, gave and take away. What a fantastic show. We are gonna go on a raid. I would like to raid another D&D streamer today, someone who is live right now. So please join me on that raid. And if the feeling takes you, wouldn't it be awesome to go and start a hype train? Join me, friends. We'll see you very shortly. Let's get that raid cry ready.